while I'm here, I might as well knock this out of the park, right? Manipulation. I actually did this video before, but I'm just going to break it up in two parts because the video was that long. It's 25 minutes plus. So a lot of people think that manipulation and lying are very good elements to do. A lot of people actually end up doing a lot of manipulative things, a lot of lying. And that's one of those things that really end up getting people caught up in a situation. Now, why is that? Okay. People play as if they're so smart, they're so intelligent. And this is why, as I say a million times, people are actually more emotionally driven, most people, than they actually think. Because you have a lot of people who will swear out that they are these masterminds, when in actuality, they're quite hurt, emotional people. And let me explain why that is, and let me prove to you why that is. So the way that manipulation works and the way that lying works is lying, first and foremost, is not manipulation. Manipulation and lying are in the same family. They are cousins, but they are not in the same direct line of control, quote unquote, or influence. Lying is blatant. So an example of lying is if I was to ask someone about directions for a store, they supposedly live in the neighborhood. I asked them if they live in the neighborhood. They said yes. And they point me in the right direction. They give me directions. I go over there, no store there. I ask someone else. I asked someone else for the same direction of the store. The person says, okay, X, Y, and Z. I go to that store. And what happens is I end up finding the store where the second person whom I asked said it was. Okay, it's blatant. It's in front of your face. Once the real knowledge has been found out, it's obvious that the person is lying. Okay, it's obvious that the person is pretty much lying. They don't know what they're talking about. Manipulation, on the other hand, is telling the truth. But what manipulation is it is blurring the lines of what your false perception is and what actually happened that you did not see, even though it is an aspect of telling the truth. So it's a blurring of the lines between what is known and unknown, and using what is known and unknown as a weapon to confuse the person to end up making bad decisions, right? Now, so this is the reason why it is that people who try, now, lying and manipulation should not be used together. And the reason why is because, number one, you'll lose track of the lie and the manipulation, and you'll end up confusing yourself. And number two, people who use lies and manipulation together as a combination at the same time, when they're trying to program or influence a person, all they end up doing is doing a little bit too much, I should say. And it ends up ruining their influence or their program of the manipulative tricks that they were trying to run in the first place, the programming. Now, that's what manipulation is, called by any other name. Manipulation, programming, trickery, confusion, war tactics. Manipulation is war tactics. Thus the reason why it is that Musashi Miyamoto wrote the Book of the Five Rings. Feints, right? Bruce Lee would later go and study Musashi Miyamoto's Book of the Five Rings and understand the emphasis that Musashi Miyamoto put on an emphasis on using trickery, i.e. confusion, i.e. manipulation, on the opponent's mind so that you can have the upper hand, because you happen to be in a so-called life or death situation. So Bruce Lee got his understanding of the importance of feints, which he would go off to use in Jeet Kune Do. Now, Sun Tzu, like I said before, written the book, The Art of War. And in The Art of War, it basically talks about using trickery. Basically, Robert Greene in the 48 Laws of Power, all he did was take 48 laws out of 101 trickery tactics. There are 101 different forms of trickery and manipulation on Earth. There's only 101 forms of trickery and manipulation on Earth. There's only 101. Robert Greene just took 48 out of the 101 tactics that he uses himself, and he just put it into a book form, and he made millions doing it. But in essence, it's all the same manipulative tactics and tricks. It's just that most people don't study the same manipulative tactics and tricks. Now, they don't study all of it. Now, when it comes to trickery, i.e. manipulation, everybody needs to stop playing that game at some point. And I'll tell you why. And I'm going to prove in these two videos why it is not only optional, but your life and your livelihood can depend on you cutting off all this manipulative tricks. A lot of people spend so much time thinking that they're so cool, trying to be manipulative, not even realizing that they're putting themselves in danger. And I'm gonna explain why in these next two videos. So, people who manipulate, first and foremost, people who manipulate can't seem to understand that when you're manipulating, you have to constantly implement that manipulation. And you have to constantly manipulate, meaning that manipulation, i.e. war tactics, first and foremost, let's talk about that. You're out here implementing strategies of war onto people whom, in essence, you're not supposed to necessarily be in war with. So, let's just say you meet somebody new or old that you know. When you're implementing manipulation, you are implementing a war tactic on them because you want to gain some form of influence. When you're trying to gain that form of influence over the person, you are to understand that you are coming from a position of having less. A lot of times, people spend so much time trying to act with this arrogance, trying to make it seem as if, you know, they're so on point and they're arrogant and they know what they're doing and they're on point with this. I'm getting a lot of notifications on my phone. They're so on point. They're so this, they're so that. No. People who use manipulative tactics and tricks, when you are coming from a manipulative place, you are basically telling off on yourself to people who understand what you're doing, that you are trying to top from the bottom, meaning you're down here, the other person is up here, and you're using dirty tricks, dirty tactics, mind influencing, confusion tactics to outmaneuver or one up the person that would basically, in a straightforward fight, would beat you. So you're already coming from down here to a person up here. So you first have to understand that manipulating someone means, by definition, you are basically letting the other person know they're better than you. All right. There's way too many people out here. There's way too many people out here whom think that manipulative tricks makes them powerful and they're in a powerful position. No, it means that you're coming from a position of not being the more powerful of the two, of the person whom you're trying to do it to, right? Let's just use one-on-one examples. And it means that you have to use dirty, confusing, manipulative tricks in order for you to actually confuse them so you can get an upper hand on the situation. You not fly like that, right? So with all this manipulative tricks, with all these manipulative tactics, first and foremost, it's tiring that you have to, every time you interact with someone whom you are programming, the first thing that you must do when you meet and greet them is you have to start the manipulative tricks. You have to start it. Because if you don't keep the manipulative tricks going, you're going to have a full-blown mutiny. Because remember, you are causing confusion. And confusion is going to bring anger or static or disdain or or disagreements among you and the other party. So imagine every time when you meet this person, you have to manipulate this person in order for you to get your way. That's tiring. And not only is it, like I said, I'm getting a lot of notifications on my phone, but not only is it a tiring thing, but eventually those manipulative tactics, those one or two manipulative tactics, whether you use it separately, whether you use it together, whether you combine it, the person, these people, long enough is going to start wisening up, and those manipulative tactics are not going to work, and you're going to have to use even more manipulative tactics. Part 1.